Hi everyone, it's Sean from Pulse Markets here, based in Sydney. We've got the team from Eastern Metals with us today. What we're doing, they've got an IPO which has just opened, which we're quite attracted to from management's past experiences and an existing JORC within the IPO. What we're looking to do today is to get a little bit more information from Bob Duffin, the chairman, and Wayne Rossiter, who's the CEO and managing director. But what we're going to do now is just get a little bit of an introduction on the company. Then I've got some questions which I'd like to ask, and then we'll tidy it up from there. So hopefully you enjoy what you hear. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks very much for the invitation to present. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to present Eastern Metals. I'm Wayne Rossiter. I'm the CEO and Managing Director, and the other gentleman on the screen is Bob Duffin, the chairman of the company. Look, by way of background, Bob and I have worked together for a number of years, and we've been in the business of acquiring advanced exploration assets with or without JORC resources and taking them through development and sometimes into production. We've had good success doing that in the past, and we're looking to do that again with these assets. Eastern Metals is about three principal projects that we have. The first two, our flagship assets, we've acquired from Kidman Resources, and the last we've pegged ourselves, which we think is very complementary to our asset suite. The main assets are what we call the Arunta project in the Northern Territory, the Cobar project in New South Wales, and also the Thompson project in New South Wales. At Arunta, we have the home of Bullion mine. It has an existing JORC resource of 2.5 million tonnes at 2.8% copper equivalent. That is including zinc, silver and gold credits, but it's a high-grade project. It's got good starting tonnage, and it's a VMS project, so there's great potential to add to the resource base and find existing lenses in proximate distance to the existing ore body. In New South Wales, we have the Browns Reef project. It's a large-scale mineralised system. It's had some drilling done on portions of it. There's a very large JORC-compliant exploration target of 27 to 32 million tonnes in the area where the drilling's been done. And we think there's excellent potential to find an ore body within this system. The chief reason for being interested in Browns was there's been historical ore grade and ore width intercepts drilled in the deposit, and they've never been followed up. So our focus is on chasing down those high grade and ore width intercepts and to see if we can turn it into an economic ore body. Our final project is the Thompson project, also in New South Wales. It's an area that's got sedimentary cover. The deposits do not express at surface. There has been some drilling of them in the past, but we believe all that drilling has missed the targets. In fact, that's the consensus view of all the previous operators and the government. And we are focused on re-drilling those targets. They're EM anomalies that are copycats for the famous mines in the Cobar basins, the CSA mine, Endeavour, and so forth. So we think there's really big, high impact potential with those projects. We're bringing together a pretty good management team who have pedigree in the area and have enjoyed a lot of success in the past. It's technically well credentialed, and we have excellent governance within our organisation as well. But probably more importantly, we've got a track record of success, and our most recent transaction that returned a superior result to shareholders was the Peculiar Knob sale, where we returned over $200 million to our shareholders, which was a great result for us. Probably the third principal leg of the attraction of this project, I think, to investors is the enterprise value. Notwithstanding the fact that we have these excellent assets with JORC resources, we're pitching this at a sub 5 million enterprise value. And I'm sure all of you are watching the IPO market closely, and we think this places us extremely competitively against other offerings that are out there. And more so, we think, on the results of any sort of exploration success that we anticipate. There's a lot of northward trajectory that shareholders will be able to share with the company. So look, that's Eastern Metals in a snapshot, Sean.
Right, that was really interesting. I'm just going to draw a couple of points there. So you've got existing JORC within the project. The management team has successfully delivered in the past, and for shareholders particularly, and you've got a really attractive valuation. What we might just touch on, which I think investors would like to know on, can you just give us a little bit more information about the 3 key projects that you've got at this particular point in time?
Yeah, sure, Sean. The first project is our Arunta project, and that has the home of bullion deposit. It's an existing JORC resource, 2.5 million tonnes at 2.8% copper equivalent. It's a VMS system, we believe. But what's really interesting about it is the existing ore bodies are open, and our initial drill program will be designed to expand on that resource. In addition, there's numerous EM and structural targets proximal to those existing ore bodies. And indeed, there's historically reported other lodes that have never been drilled as well. So we think there's fantastic potential to add to this resource. Our mission in the first instance is to attempt to double it. And when you look at the existing home of bullion project, it's got fabulous grade. It just needs more tonnage, and that's what our objective is there. The Arunta project isn't just home of bullion, however. The tenement also has other potential. To the north of us, there's an area called Prospect D, and it's an area of copper nickel mineralization that's been mapped over 2 kilometres. And we know that there's a high-grade core. It's had some drilling on it, which has returned high-level coppers and good, strong nickel results, but it's never been drilled deeply at all. So we believe that could be a pretty interesting target for us in the near term. Also, there's pegmatites hosting potentially lithium on the tenement as well. So that's something we'll do some low-impact soil and rock chip sampling work as part of our work program. The Browns Reef project, it's really interesting. It's a mineralized system. It's a syncline. It's 8 kilometres in strike. And so if you look at the east and west limbs, that gives us 16 kilometres of mineralization structures. It was drilled by Kidman Resources, but just on the eastern flank of this syncline and over an area of about 2.7 kilometres. The western flank hasn't been drilled recently in modern times because of basalt cover. In that area of that 2.7 kilometres, and this is out of a 16 kilometre mineralised system, Kidman announced a JORC exploration target of 27 to 32 million tonnes. It was relatively low grade, but within that system, what we've seen is high grade intercepts, and we're talking intercepts that are all grade and all width, the sort of widths that mechanised mining could be employed upon. So what we're looking for is what we'd call the plums in the pudding. Within that broader system, we believe there's going to be great potential for one or more ore bodies. And you've got to remember, Sean, for an ore body to be mineable, the sort of strike length we're talking about, may only be 200-300 meters. And so there's definitely huge scope to find an ore body within this system. And that's our target. So our initial program at Browns is a 6-hole diamond program, and it's step-out drilling on those high-grade hits that have never been followed up before. So we're not going back to where Kidman did high-density drilling. What we're doing is following up on those high-grade hits and see what we've got. They'll be followed by a second phase program, which will be a shallow RAB drilling program over the western flank, select areas of the western flank, and an area to the south where we believe both the eastern and western limbs of the syncline converge, where a stacking of lenses could actually give some open pittable potential as well. So the idea of that is to test, really to identify where the structures are, and that will be a guide to future drilling at Browns. The last project, Thompson, it's a high risk, high reward project. At this juncture, we have not allocated drilling funds to it, and what we'll be seeking is a drilling partner or government funding to do a couple of those holes for us. Like I said, it's something which we believe previous explorers have missed the targets. It's really interesting because they're magnetic anomalies, and what's been intercepted in the holes in the past has been all sorts of anomalous mineralization that would be associated with the halo around an ore body. But the magnetic response of that material does not in any way reflect the magnetic anomalies that are being drilled. And so we believe, and previous explorers and the government believe, that the targets have been missed. And so our objective is to drill those. So what we have across all this portfolio is walk-up drill targets. We have drill programs ready to go both at Homer Bullion and Browns in the immediate term, and they'll be followed with further drill programs and resource evaluation as we progress the exploration program. So we think there's great potential on these projects to come up with something a little bit different to most of the offerings, and there's the potential for mines in all of these projects.
Fantastic. How did Eastern Metals acquire these projects?
We paid cash for these projects. Sorry. Yeah, we paid cash for these projects. Wesfarmers acquired Kidman by a scheme of arrangement when they were after the Mount Holland lithium project, and these were put up for sale, well over a year ago now. So it's been a long process, and we've successfully navigated that process and had all the tenements renewed in full. Now they're 100% owned by Eastern Metals.
Okay, that's great. You've already started to give a bit of an overview of the projects, which has been great. Is there anything else you want to elaborate on with the 3 different projects that you've got, particularly the first 2?
Yeah, look, I probably jumped the gun from your questions, Sean, and given you a bit more detail. But what we've got here are projects that have walk-up drill targets, and that's pretty exciting. What we have here is projects, flagship projects that either have an existing JORC resource estimate on them or a JORC exploration target, and that's exactly our sweet spot. That's what we're looking to do, is to build off that work that's been done in the past and bring these up into something that is going to create value for shareholders.
Okay, you've mentioned that there has been work done on the past. Can you just give us a little bit more information on that and the amount of money that's been spent, if you're aware of it?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. And I couldn't tell you how much has been spent on Thompson, but I can certainly tell you how much has been spent at Homer Bullion and Browns Reef. And excluding acquisition costs, that's in the order of $9 million. So there was a lot of drilling done at Homer Bullion to get into JORC resource, and there was a good amount of drilling done at Browns Reef to establish that exploration target. So what we've inherited is a fabulous data set that would cost a lot of money to reperform, and that's what we've been able to use to direct our work programs on how to take these assets forward.
That's really interesting with the EV, which is under 5 million. There's virtually double that being spent on the projects already.
Oh, absolutely, Sean. And Bob and myself have been involved in many IPOs in the past, and what I've seen out in the marketplace is EVs that I think have been a little bit high, and we've seen I think companies revert back to the EVs they probably should have been listed at. So there's been some exuberance and frothiness in the market. I've always believed a IPO is a bit of black magic. You've got to pitch your EV at a good discount so that all the shareholders who participate, enjoy the fruits of getting on board at the beginning. And we hope with some exploration success that will mean that we get a good trajectory upwards on our share price and everyone gets to participate.
I'll tell you what, that coupled with the success that you've had in previous projects, the work that's already been done with the low EV, that's already getting quite compelling for me, just off that alone.
Well, I was going to say, Sean, you know where our website is, and you can download the prospectus and join in.
Well, I'll be sending it out to my customers for sure. Moving on, we've heard the backstory. Now, obviously raising money in the IPO. You're looking at 4.5 to 6 million. What are their exploration plans to get that money working hard for you?
Now, Sean, you're going to be very upset with me because I haven't been sharing the screen here, but with our work program, but everyone will be able to see it on our website. But the initial work program is drilling, and it's drilling at both Homer Bullion and Browns Reef. But that's not the only drilling we've got in our work budget. The exploration program is dominated by use of funds on drilling. So there'll be a second phase program at both Homer Bullion and Browns Reef. But in addition to that, and what will happen shortly after the initial drill programs at both projects, will be some airborne and ground geophysical surveys, and they will help to complement our data set to target the second round of drilling at both projects. In addition, at Browns, that RAB drilling program I mentioned earlier, that's really to zero us in on the exact location of those structures on the western limb, so that we can then design the diamond program to test those. Latter, at Homer Bullion, within our budgeted funds, we have allocated capital for a JORC resource estimate, a revision of that, and also the maiden JORC resource estimate at Browns Reef. And in addition, at Homer Bullion, we've allocated funds for met test work and commencement of a feasibility study, because we really think that project is so far advanced that with an increase in tonnage, that we'll get to that stage where we need to actually start commencing feasibility work.
That's fantastic. We will send the presentations and the marketing material with the email that goes out, so everyone will have that in front of them anyway. Thank you for that, though. What potential exists for a resource estimate ultimately for an ore body or for an increase in resource?
Yeah, look, at Homer Bullion, we're hoping to double the tonnage in the near term, and we haven't done a feasibility at this stage. But once with that sort of grade, you're starting to get close to something that you can double the tonnage, where I'll start to move into that feasibility territory. Most zinc projects and most mines kind of need 10 million tonnes as a tonnage for development. And they're all within the realms of possibility at these projects. So look, we think there's excellent potential for an economic ore body, and first steps first. That's we need to build that resource inventory, and starting with that JORC resource at Homer Bullion gives us a fantastic springboard. And as I said, at Browns, we believe that there's potential for one or more ore bodies within that 18 kilometres of structure. So look, we wouldn't be in this business if we weren't trying to find an economic ore body. There's no point just finding uneconomic mineralisation. And we've certainly been in the business in the past of developing and operating mines as well. So that's discovering an economic ore body is our objective here.
Okay, that's excellent, and you've led me to my next question, which we did touch earlier, that you both, Bob and yourself, have worked together over the years. You've had some success. I mean, looking at you, talking to you, hearing from you is what investors like to see. But if you could give a bit of a brief outline of what you've both done and accomplished in the past, that'd be very beneficial for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Look, myself, I've probably been involved with 10 project developments that have moved into operations, and that's across the resources sphere in metalliferous mining, oil and gas, precious metals. So that's kind of been my bread and butter for a long time. I won't speak to Bob's particular experience, but he's been a long-term director of operating companies throughout his career. And together, most recently, there was the Peculiar Knob mine that was taken through exploration, feasibility, permitting, financing, and taken to the point of construction. We didn't actually operate that. Instead, we sold it to One Steel and delivered a fabulous result for shareholders. There was a $220 million payment to shareholders through a capital return and fully franked dividend. So, there's always the opportunity to de-risk projects and deliver value to shareholders if that sort of opportunity presents itself. And most recently, we took the Tarcoola mine again from an exploration project right through to operation and indeed to closure. The team, it's a bit of getting the old team back here, and I'm the young member of the team, and I'm starting to feel a bit grey. But Bob, but Bob and our principal consultants have all been in the industry for a long time and have fabulous pedigrees.
Okay, that's excellent. Bob, do you just want to elaborate on yourself shortly, please?
Yes, thanks, Sean. Look, I started my career in government in the Geological Survey of New South Wales. I'm a geoscientist by training. I spent the next 15 years with Mount Isa Mines and also Pico Wallsend. I've been a director of companies since 1986. Some of the more successful ones have been a group of us acquired an iron ore project in WA from the administrators of Kingstream Steel for less than $1 million, took it through to a listed company and eventually sold it 3 or 4 years later to a Chinese corporation for $1 billion. We've done the same sort of thing on several occasions. As Wayne said, there was the Peculiar Knob iron ore mine that we were with. Bought that for less than $1 million as an exploration property with a resource on it. Took it into a listed company and eventually sold it for $300 million and distributed $260 million of those 300 back to shareholders as a fully franked dividend. We had good success with the Tarcoola mine, as Wayne's just talked about, and in a slightly different space. I was part of a company that operated a single coal mine at Gunnedah, the Preston Colliery, as a private company for 2 years. We then took that through an IPO stage when we acquired some additional mines. That became Centennial Coal, which was bought by the Thai company Banpu about 7 or 8 years ago, I think it was, for $4 billion. So, we've done these things. We've had good success in acquiring properties cheaply, building up the asset base, de-risking them and either selling them on or developing them ourselves. And that's our game plan here in a nutshell.
That sounds really, really good. You've got the assets, the team, and the history. The last thing I'd like to touch on, because we'd like to keep these things short and sweet, and I've really enjoyed what you've had to say so far. It's been very enlightening. What would be the market capitalisation and the EV post-listing?
Yes, sure. The EV is sub $5 million. So on a $6 million capital raise will be an $11 million market cap. And I think that's a ground floor place for us to commence and get out there and do some work and build value.
Okay, especially with the assets that you've got. What I'd like to do now is to thank you all for coming. I'm sure investors will have questions, which I'll get them to direct to me via email. And if I need to, I'll forward them to yourselves. I'd like to wish you the best of luck. We'll certainly be supporting you. I'll put some money in. We'll go through our client base and see what we've got, what people will put in. But I think with the assets, with the money that's been spent, it's almost as much as what your market cap will be if you open at the issue price of 20 cents. You've already got a JORC. You've already got defined targets to drill, which you'll be doing pretty much straight away after you've got the money, I'd be assuming. You've got a really good team that's been there, done that, and very experienced. You've obviously done your research, and the valuation is very attractive. I mean, a $5 million valuation with $9 million worth of drilling is, you can virtually get a shell these days for just a little bit less than that. So there's a lot of value there with the team you've put together. So, yeah, I'd just like to thank you very much for your time, and wish you the best of luck.
No, thanks very much, Sean, and looking forward to receiving your check. But certainly there's other questions from your investor base. More than happy to answer those.
Great. And as always, this hasn't been financial advice. This is just a way to provide information to investors. Please make your own investment decisions. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.